And
know,
what is the motivation of the suppressing of this information?
I think in case of Tesla, wasn't it military, the fear of military applications?
I also think that, there are huge corporations that have very large investments in a particular path of technology, which is ours.
Right.
And for somebody to come up with a whole new path of technology, it's very threatening to them. And much better from their point of view to suppress it, or if they can't suppress it, to kind of buy it and hide it, and keep things on the track that they're on now.
This week, you might have heard about the COFRE project, SAR pyramid scanning results. A team of scientists from Italy have been using satellite scans, and they claim that they have evidence of underground structures and tunnel networks that are underneath the middle pyramid on the Giza plateau, including 5 never-before-found chambers inside the pyramid at ground level that replicate exactly the King's Chamber in the Great Pyramid. 8 hollow cylindrical structures descending down into the earth for over 400 meters.
And all of this is like very, very, very weird.
Yeah, 600 meters descending down those cylinders, and then there's more stuff below it, and then there's additional structures inside of it. Yeah, that was crazy.
It's really crazy.
The recent findings from deploying this technology are nothing short of mind-blowing, because what's been discovered is that there are huge structures coming down from the base of the pyramid deep into the bedrock. In fact, over 600 meters deep, which then connects to structures that extend up to 2 kilometers below the surface of the ground. 2 kilometers, massive internal structures connected to the base of the pyramid and extending deep down. This is what we know.
No mummy has ever been found in any pyramid, ever. Ancient Egyptians considered their pharaohs gods. The Great Pyramid is a strange structure for a god. Small chambers, narrow shafts, no markings at all. The way the pyramid was built and the materials used to build it suggest it had a different purpose. Each side is within 2 inches of any other. That's 99.98% accurate. Fun fact, the pyramid doesn't have 4 sides. It actually has 8. Each side is slightly concave that you can only really see from directly above, or when the pyramid casts shadows during the equinoxes. And yes, those angles too are perfect. Whoever built the pyramids somehow knew the size of the Earth. The idea that the Great Pyramid was a power plant is not new. It was first proposed in the 1970s. One of the most compelling cases comes from Christopher Dunn. He believes the process starts in the subterranean chamber. Below the pyramid are aquifers. As water moves through the underground cavities, sound waves are created. The frequency of these waves resonate with the Earth's natural vibration. As those waves move up through the pyramid, a process is used to magnify, focus, and convert the sound into energy. The Queen's Chamber was used for a chemical reaction. This hydrogen gas would flow from the Queen's Chamber through the horizontal passage and into the Grand Gallery. The Grand Gallery is also made of granite. As the hydrogen gas builds up, the pressure compresses the granite, creating electricity. This electricity also ionizes the air, increasing conductivity. Within the Grand Gallery were 27 or 28 pairs of resonators that would vibrate and emit sound. The hydrogen atoms would organize themselves into waves in sympathy with the sound waves of the gallery. These sound waves further excite the stone, creating even more electricity. Acoustic engineers have determined the gallery resonates at 440 hertz and naturally emits an F-sharp chord. 440 hertz and the F-sharp chord have been connected to a lot of woo-woo ideas, but there's a reason for that. It's considered a sound that resonates in harmony with the Earth. The builders of the pyramid knew this. Longtime Mac users will recognize this sacred chord. The King's Chamber is what's known as a Helmholtz resonator. When you blow air across the top of a bottle and create sound, that's a Helmholtz resonator. Change the volume of liquid in the bottle, or change the volume of stone within the chamber, you change the pitch. The entire complex is a giant musical instrument. Whether true or not, it's scientifically possible that the Great Pyramid was a structure for creating, harnessing, and focusing energy. The exterior was made of material that insulates electricity. The interior was made of material that conducts electricity. The chambers were made of material that creates electricity. The builders of the pyramid created a power-generating machine tuned to the natural harmonic of the Earth's vibration that primarily comes from the tidal energy created by the moon's gravity. This technology, created thousands of years ago, could generate unlimited clean energy. But how did they get the energy out? That brings us back to Tesla. His Wardenclyffe Tower was built on top of an aquifer, with copper and iron rods extending down into the water. When electricity was sent into the tower, it was to be transmitted around the world through the atmosphere. The pyramid is also built on an aquifer, and copper pipes and iron rods have recently been discovered there. If the capstone was made of gold, the energy concentrated inside the pyramid would have been drawn to the top and transmitted to the atmosphere. Tesla's wireless power distribution system used the resonance of the Earth, just like the pyramid. And just like the pyramid, the energy generated by Tesla's tower would be unlimited, clean, and virtually free for everyone on the planet. But Tesla's tower was destroyed by outside forces. Skeptics will say if the ancient Egyptians used electricity, there would be documentation, even hard evidence of it. You'll see true believers point to glyphs that look like light bulbs, but I honestly think that's a stretch. There's no evidence the Egyptians worked with glass or any components used to make a light bulb. So why is there no evidence of the use of electricity in ancient Egypt, and no record of electricity being generated by the Great Pyramid? Well, because the ancient Egyptians didn't build it. There is evidence that it was possible that an advanced civilization existed thousands of years ago. That civilization had the technology to create unlimited clean energy. Then the glaciers melted, a great flood came, solar plasma and radiation destroyed a significant amount of life on the planet. The civilization then disappeared. Then thousands of years later, as the great Egyptian culture was forming, they would have utilized the pyramid, not for power, but for ceremonial or religious purposes. Whoever built the pyramids created energy that wasn't harmful to the Earth, but resonated in harmony with it. A suspicious person might wonder why, if this theory has been around for 50 years, nobody's tried to replicate it, even on a small scale. Unlimited clean energy for everyone on Earth sounds like a way for the entire human race to take a huge step forward. Think of the technological advances that could be made if electricity was free. Think of the political strife, economic instability, and the endless wars that could be avoided. But maybe what's happening now is what happened to Tesla 100 years ago. In Tesla's time, nobody was interested in creating technology that would make power free for everyone. Empires owned by JP Morgan, the Vanderbilts, and the Rockefellers would have been devastated.
If you go back 400 years to now, it's a stunning amount of achievement.
Absolutely stunning.
And if you have a completely different path of technology, one that's not utilizing internal combustion engines and cranes and the like that we experience
leverage,
today.
mechanical advantage, everything that our tech is based around.
Something that's insanely advanced, tens of thousands of years of a different path.
Yeah.
And that may be what we're looking at.
And that may begin to explain these otherwise inexplicable monuments that have survived.
Jamie, do I need... There we go. This is the work of Nikola Tesla. And he was... Again, this is way too much for us to get in today. That's why we need to devote a whole session to talking about this.
Okay.
But this is... this was the inspiration. You know, his work was suppressed. A lot of his patents were taken, sealed up by the U.S. government for whatever reason. I don't know. But this is some of the stuff that's now being developed using his ideas plus some of the others.
Would it be fair to say that there's an element of a rediscovery of a lost technology from the past?
I think it would be fair to say that, yes.
And so through this technology, they're able to move stones or cut stones or all the above?
All the above.
And even transport them? Whoa,
Yes.
what is all this?
Well, this is the model, and this is diagramming all the frequencies of the elements and what their vibrational frequencies are and the numbers that measure those frequencies. And they're all the numbers we get from looking at these ancient traditions that recur over and over and over again, that I've been talking about in my sacred geometry classes for decades without knowing what the final result was going to be. So this inventor who's working with this small group contacted me, and this is what he told me. He said, you built the foundation. He said, you laid the foundation with your work on ancient geometry, and I built a house on top of it. That's what he said. Nice. So for 7 years, he's been supplying me with all the information. I have copies of all the patents. I have videos of the testing of the prototypes. And Mazda, the car manufacturer in Japan, is getting ready to do a $25 million testing of some of these prototypes that they believe they can retrofit internal combustion engines with. And there's over 100, they've developed over 100 patents on some of this stuff.
Now, what is the motivation of the suppressing of this information?
I think in case of Tesla, wasn't it military, the fear of military applications?
I also think that, there are huge corporations that have very large investments in a particular path of technology, which is ours.
Right.
And for somebody to come up with a whole new path of technology, it's very threatening to them. And much better from their point of view to suppress it, or if they can't suppress it, to kind of buy it and hide it, and keep things on the track that they're on now. I would say that's the motive.
And maybe for people that are curious about this and maybe even skeptical, consider the massive change that nuclear power provided us. Mm-hmm. Whereas before the 1940s, this was unheard of. Yep. This even the concept of it. And all of a sudden now we have nuclear power, nuclear weapons, the most profound power known to man currently. Mm-hmm.
God help us, it's a power for use by adults, but unfortunately it's delinquent children who are leading our world right now. The leaders of our planet, the politicians out there, they're just complete assholes. I can't think of any of them who I feel any respect for whatsoever. And it's they who are in charge of this frightening, terrifying technology. We just aren't mature enough as a civilization.
All right, basically to sum all this up in Fortnite terms, to break it down and make it a little understandable, I put all this footage in this video so that, you kind of understand where I'm coming from. I'm not the only person talking about this, but in the last video I made, that's Get Out 6, that I recorded in December 18th, 2024, like a few months ago. I mentioned in that video about the pyramids and how the fuck is that there? How they still don't know, and I even heard a couple other YouTubers I used to watch. People would just say it randomly, how the fuck are the pyramids there? And, there's still a lot of mysteries with Earth and shit. So yeah, it's recent news and recent stuff that's basically coming out about how there's a whole structure underneath the pyramids that they never discovered and they never explored, and now they're exploring it now. So they're about to find out a whole bunch of new information about the pyramids that we never knew before, and they always been a mystery. So it's it just seemed like the biggest Easter egg in the world, literally. Easter eggs are commonly a thing, in video games and shit. Oh, you gotta figure this out. This look like a big ass Easter egg. I ain't gonna lie, it just seems like it is. And they're saying there's structures underneath it, and then there's also a lot of stuff that's not really new information, but they're saying it could have been used as a power plant for technology and electricity. And there's a whole video in this video breaking that down on how that could work, and basically outputting that energy into the atmosphere to where it's wireless service, kind of how we have cell phone service now. You could just call and you can connect to internet service from a tower. It's kind of like that. They had their own fucking cell phone tower, but for electricity. That's the fucking pyramids. And they already know that there's systems going on inside of it that kind of prove this, but they just figured out that there's a whole nother part underneath it. So that is kind of crazy. I think that definitely does open the door to a lot of mysteries and shit. And it's crazy how I was already mentioning, stuff like this. And I feel like, when I was doing the Get Out series research, I was already I went straight to Egypt, and then I was talking about the pharaohs and how they ran shit. And then I started talking about the pyramids. And now I didn't even drop that episode till yesterday, but I recorded it in December. So it's just now I feel kind of more obligated to keep it going, because now there's even more information that kind of shows that I'm not really just tripping. I remember a long ass time ago when I made a TikTok and it was bros on to nothing. But that was just about some hip hop topic. But, with the new information coming out and I'm saying there's some other shit we don't know about, I don't know if bros on to nothing, you know what I'm saying, basically. So, basically to keep it going, they're basically saying the pyramids could be like this power plant that was like disabled and that was built by advanced civilization before the Egyptians, most likely, but it could have also been built by them, or just, but they think it was probably just used by them. And basically, if they start exploring this shit and figuring it out, and start exploring this technology that they used a long ass time ago that worked for them, and basically the earth was like wiped out and reset. So basically back then they could have basically used technology and used innovations in a way better way than we're using it now, that would basically create a whole different reality, almost like a reality we don't even see or understand or ever think is existing, because we only think back to Egypt and shit. So basically, if they figure out the pyramids and figure out the technology that was used to maybe create wireless free clean energy for the whole world to sustain, that would basically alleviate obviously we use gas to power our cars, we use gas to power our homes. Like, obviously the way energy is used today is ran by specific families, and that's why everything's so expensive. That's why things go up in price. That's why there's wars over energy and land and all this shit. But if energy was infinite, then obviously that would make a difference. That would make a humongous difference of like, there wouldn't be any like gas, or like there probably, like, honestly, like if you really think about it, there probably wouldn't be anything to pay for, like in terms of like energy, because if they created a way for energy to be free for everyone around the planet, then like that just means shit will be fucking free. But it's like, I don't really know, because it's like, what the fuck am I even talking about, right? Like, I don't really know how free everything would really be. But you do know, if it's just free energy around the planet, then there's not going to be people that are monopolies controlling it and selling it to everybody and making everybody go to work. So this will create a humongous difference, and I don't really think people care or like understand this shit right now. But like, basically, if the pyramids turned into like a free power plant for the world and they created wireless energy, then that would literally change the world, like literally, like it would change everything. And I think with that, in the video they kind of show, like at the end, I put a part about how they said, why would they not want to explore this? Like, oh yeah, because they're gonna lose all their money. And there's like, obviously during the Industrial Revolution, and I took fucking AP US history, by the way. Fuck is you talking about? I'm not just an idiot in this bitch. But anyways, I think like, obviously like niggas are benefiting off the way the world is ran, like the way streets are built, everything, bro. There are niggas that are literally benefiting off of everything, bro. Taxes, everything, bro. So it's just like the way the world is set up, it's like a pyramid. There's somebody at the top of the pyramid, or a group of people that are like having multiple things move how they're moving so that they can get rich. And a lot of people know this, but they don't care. They just want to be in their gratitude and enjoy their life, which makes sense. But who's gonna be the one to talk about this? And that's the thing, I'm not the only person talking about this. So I think it just kind of goes to show, like, like the world is gonna, like, they're figuring this out now, so the world, like, by default, almost the world is going to evolve. Like, misters are gonna be like, all that shit. Like, the world is going to evolve, and niggas are going to start seeing, like, like, people kind of know, but people just don't care. They think the problem is too big. But it's just like if you look at space, and it's literally infinite, and we're like a speck of dust, just like low-key. They're talking about how the pyramids are like using the moon and like using some type of technology to use the gravity of the moon to power the earth. And like there's like a bunch of water that could be utilized. Like the world is literally like 70% ocean or something, like that could be utilized for like energy. You know what I mean? Like there's probably other ways to run the earth that won't be the way it is now. And I know, like, it's just like, what, like, you know what I mean? And it's like, oh, you're just negative, or change your perspective. But in reality, it's just the truth, bro. It's just the truth. Like, niggas don't, like, I don't know, niggas won't believe it, but like we're by default, we are cavemen right now. Like, it sounds crazy, it sounds high, but by default, we're low-key cavemen right now. It's like, we think we got it the best, we think we got it so good, but there could have been a whole nother civilization that we don't even know existed a long ass time ago that was doing shit completely different and possibly even better if they're creating like a clean energy source for the earth, pretty much. And obviously maybe it wasn't that good, like maybe it didn't power the whole planet, you know what I mean? But it's just like the mystery of that and how that's even formed. They're basically claiming it will be hard to even replicate that today. So, or it's easier to replicate today with the technology that we have today. So basically, if they like created a pyramid and redid stuff and re-explored that technology and re-evolved into a more clean energy direction rather than like, you know, burning fossil fuels, doing things that are bad for the environment, and the world kind of evolved in a healthier direction, then things would evolve faster. Like, people would be taking ships to other planets. People would be taking ships to other planets and like all type of shit. Like, it would be flying cars. It will be a lot of things going on, and it's not like, oh, pessimistic or ungrateful. It's more so just like understanding that the world could be a more advanced place, and it's not like, oh, we're shit right now. It's just more so like just understanding and believing that to a bigger degree would obviously probably like open that door, you know what I mean? And you already see it now. Like, Elon Musk is talking about, like, you know, getting anything you want at like a snap of a finger, and like creating a robot and like, you know, controlling stuff with your brain and all that. But the problem with that type of shit is there's gonna be a person above it. He wants to be the person in position that's going to control that. And obviously, like, right now there's like a bunch of political shit going on with that. So it's like when you're trying to harness power and put it in the hands of a specific person or a group who has their own intentions, that's not really healthy, you know what I mean? That's not really good when it's like the pyramids of the theory of like, this is just free energy for everybody. And also I didn't even mention that this is a whole concept from Nikola Tesla that he was developing that was like hindered by the government. Like, his work was destroyed or lost or something like that, where he was trying to develop free energy for the world at like even the most remote parts of the world, to where they have free access to electricity. And, you know, basically everybody having free access to electricity and energy would catapult the world. It would raise everything, you know? Like, just imagine like the most third world place having what they need in like basically like in an unlimited like just having unlimited resources, almost like kind of like, or obviously it's not just that simple, but just having like more access to free clean energy and just having a healthier world, or where the energy is like kind of dispersed in a more equal way, and actually figuring out a way for that to be possible, and not just being like, damn, we don't have enough resources, like, damn, like some people got to suffer and some people gonna, you know, flourish. And that's the way the world is right now, you know what I mean? It's like a very monopolistic kind of world if you really look at the grand scale of things. And obviously some countries and places are more beneficial than others, but even in those beneficial places, there's still people at the top that are, you know, probably shouldn't be at the top, that are running things, you know what I'm saying, and kind of making sure that the world doesn't go in a direction of actual equality. And if there was a free energy source to basically be free wireless energy around the world that would catapult the world, they wouldn't want that to happen, because they want Elon Musk, or they want somebody in specific authority to keep that authority. They don't want things to be equal. They want to flourish off of other people's misfortunes. And people just know this is true. And I know, like, when niggas like be president and like talk about politics and shit, like, it's low-key like it's low-key like hard to like really break down everything like this, and like really hard to get into the details of stuff like this, and really hard to get people to understand what they need to understand. But the new discoveries of the pyramids could be the start of, you know, clean, sustainable energy around the world. And another part of the video mentioned like how nuclear energy is like a new thing, or creating nuclear weapons and everything like that. But that's also another indicator right there that the world is being ran by the wrong people, because it's like we're like at that stage where, you know, nuclear weapons are like a thing before even like a lot of other things that probably should be a thing before that, you know what I mean? And it's just like, I don't know. The problem's so big and political and like all that shit that like people are just like, oh my God, my head's gonna explode if I even think about this. So I do get that idea of things, but like I think you should just realize that like the world could be pushed. Like it's not terrible. I'm not like ungrateful. It's just more so like it's just you still gotta understand that the possibilities are endless, and the possibilities are being limited by the people in power on purpose so that they receive more of a benefit and keep things kind of like that movie Chicken Run, or it's like niggas keep them focused on like survival and, you know, in school, and like, you know, just keep them distracted and busy and keep their goals kind of small, you know what I mean? And I just think this isn't really about getting rich or not. It's just about like, you know, creating like a more healthy environment for everybody. And the pyramids and this new information obviously could be like an indicator that that could actually be possible if they were like, let's put more energy into creating a more sustainable, equal world. But you just know for a fact like that's not what's gonna happen, or that's not what's really going on. But if more people know and more people start to understand that these things could be possible if the energy is start to put in that direction, then I think that's just the best thing you could do. The best thing you could do is try to get people to understand, or just more people to understand, that shit could evolve in a different direction. And I don't know, people know, last thing I'm gonna say for real, people know like how money works. Like people know like, okay, like you get this much and then get that much, it's like, okay, you know, you have power over this, power over that. So it's like once you really realize how money works and how power works behind that, it's like you realize, okay, there has to be somebody who has a ton of it, and like they have influence, that power, they could do this, they could do that. But like overall, on the grand scheme of things, like, you know, the people at the top aren't gonna, you know, they're not gonna do certain things to make sure that things are equal or to get more people to the top. They're gonna try to keep you in a circle. You know what I'm saying? Like once more people just realize that, and then want to explore, you know, the pyramids, and want to explore like things that will actually create a better, more sustainable world for everybody, and not just certain people, and get into this little rat race mentality of basically like, okay, you're a little bit above this other person, rather than just being like, we're all up. You know, like if more people just want to have a mentality of we're all literally up, and there's enough energy in the world and in the universe for everybody to be up. If more people just get attached to that, rather than be like, oh, I just want to be a little bit better, I want to get a nicer house, I want to get a nicer car. Like that's all the rat race mentality, rather than being like everybody just being like, I want everybody to be up, so I'm going to put my energy into things that will create actual equality, and believing that's possible, rather than just being like, oh man, I'm in gratitude. And you know most people just rather choose the gratitude route because it's just easier on your brain. Like, you know what I mean? Like, I don't know, like I get it, but just knowing the shit's possible, and just know there's so many things that could show you that more is possible than what is being shown, and what money's being put towards. And like even like wars and shit are literally fought over stuff like this fought over stuff like the idea of like the pyramids could solve pretty much like right now you be seeing like people talk about you see people talk about like Free Palestine and like, you know, certain like wars that they want to end, or certain genocides, and, you know, the hunger here and the hunger there. But you got to start realize why is all that stuff going on? It's like, obviously it's a power thing. It just is. Like, Russia's invading, you know, another country because it's a power thing. There's like a war over this because of power thing. There's people doing this because it's all a power thing. It's all like, I have more money than you, or I want to control this. It's all that. So once you start realizing it's all just power structure, then it's like the solve to all those problems at once would literally be like infinite sustainable power. And if more people just cared about, okay, since everybody's fighting over power, everybody's fighting over resources, and there's all these conflicts over these like basically things not being equal, then like what are the steps that need to be taken to make things fully equal and make sure that that stays that way, and we only just focus on creativity and growth rather than war? Pretty much like make art, not war. Like focus on growth, not, you know, oppression, shit like that. Like what would really be the solve across the board? Like what would stop every war? What would stop, you know, all the misfortunes of the world in reality? And that would be what? Infinite power and equality, literally. And I feel like the pyramids could be a start to that, of if there's like a new technology where it's not where it's wireless and it's not, you don't have to pay, like, you know, having that type of mindset of free energy. And, you know, it's hard to explain, but that will literally solve a lot of shit, because okay, let's just say last thing, like, only problem with that though is there's always going to be somebody who wants to control some shit. So even if the pyramids did create like free wireless energy, but they would still probably figure out a way to be like, okay, don't make it go over there until they pay some, like, you know, like, and that's what would have to change. Like, niggas just got to stop being greedy for real and just be like, oh, what's really best for the world? But the world just never goes down that path. Then low key by default, the world is just going to go down a negative path, I feel like. But obviously, you know, you don't have to think about that. You can just focus on gratitude. That's another thing too. So yeah, I'm done rambling about this. I'm out.